America in the 1960s. The 1960s, a turbulent decade in American history. A time of dreams, of struggles, of pain, and also the moment when new chapters of history were written. Let us journey back to the milestones that shaped one of the most unforgettable eras of the 20th century. First, the Civil Rights Movement. The American people, especially the African American community, rose up to demand justice, to fight against racial segregation that had been rooted for centuries. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. stood in Washington, delivering his timeless "I Have a Dream" speech, an image forever carved into history. Just a year later, the Civil Rights Act was passed, paving the way for equality among all citizens. And in 1965, the Voting Rights Act was born, granting millions the right to take part in America's democracy. But while freedom was being fought for at home, on the other side of the world, the Vietnam War became a haunting shadow. From the Gulf of Tonkin incident in 1964, America expanded its military involvement. More and more soldiers were sent into an unfamiliar land. The flag-draped coffins returning home shook the entire nation. And soon, voices of protest filled the streets. Universities, young people, artists, all cried out together, "We need peace, not war." The decade was also scarred by tragedy. In 1963, the world was stunned as President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. 2 years later, Malcolm X, outspoken and fearless, was gunned down. And by 1968, America had lost two more icons, Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy. Their deaths tore away leaders of hope and left the nation grieving, divided, searching for answers. Yet in the midst of sorrow, a new wind of freedom and creativity began to rise. The counterculture movement was born. Young Americans challenged the old norms. They chose peace instead of war, love instead of hate. The hippies, with flowers in their hair and the slogan, "Peace and Love," became the face of a generation. Music turned into a revolution. The Beatles, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, their voices were not just music, they were the soul of the youth. And in 1969, Woodstock became the climax, hundreds of thousands gathering, singing together for freedom. But America's story in the 1960s was not only written on Earth. In 1961, President Kennedy set a bold challenge: land a man on the moon before the decade ended. And in July 1969, Apollo 11 fulfilled that dream. Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface, leaving behind words that still echo today. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The world held its breath, and America claimed its place in the history of humankind. Meanwhile, women too were finding their voice. In 1963, the book The Feminine Mystique sparked a wave of feminism, questioning the role of women in society. By 1966, the National Organization for Women was born, fighting for equality. At the same time, movements for the environment, for students, for personal freedom were blossoming everywhere. Together, they began shaping a more modern, democratic, and progressive America. The 1960s, a portrait of contradictions. There was the light of hope, but also the shadows of loss. There were great advances, but also deep wounds. And yet, from this decade of turmoil, a new America emerged, stronger, more creative, and forever changing. So if you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment, or hit subscribe. Your support is what keeps me bringing you more stories like this.